Where is it? There it is. Okay, so let me give you a quick rundown of what this is doing. So what this is, it's an application that I built for myself. I use GatsbyJS for my websites. You can go to compileswift.com as it says there, or peterwhitham.com. Well, what it does is it uses a series of Markdown files as the generators, the content, and GatsbyJS is a static site generator. So it reads through, finds all the Markdown files and converts them to web pages for me on the website. Let me just go ahead and show you. I might as well. So let me show you here. So if I go to this website, my website here, peterwhitham.com. So this is it, right? And then each one of these is a Markdown file. And so if I take like this one here, Compile Swift podcast, you should definitely check that out if you're into Swift. That's my podcast. But this is all generated from a Markdown file. So this application that I built allows me to quickly fill out a Markdown file with all the content it needs, and I can just save that in the folder and then push that up to the GitHub repository where it gets picked up and then converted to, built via Netlify and pushed out to my website. So there's certain fields, for example. Let me show you here. If I go create, what it's going to do, it's going to pop up sort of this template. So this is what it generates, right? This is what the Gatsby expects from my Markdown file. Some tags, some key value pairs here, and some content. So the idea being, right, that I'm going to fill these in, with whatever it may be, and then I just have this here. When I go create, I can either save a file or copy this to the clipboard, and it creates exactly the formatted Markdown file that I'd expect for the site. There's a problem though that I need to fix here, and let me show you. So I've got this for two different sites, right? If I go to my peterwhitham.com, and these are actually driven by configuration. My goal here is to maybe make this accessible for other people to use as well. But if I go through and, if I go through here and I just choose, say, peterwhitham.com, Swift post, and put in a title, some blurb, the slug, just my post. I'll put a tag, Swift, and then, right, like so, and I go create. This is all perfectly how it's supposed to be. The one to note here is this blurb, right? This blurb is like the quick, let me show you again here on the website here. So the blurb is this little bit here, right? It's just a little catch line for you to quickly see and say, is this a post I want to read, right? That's what the blurb is. Now, the problem is that if I go over to the Compile Swift website, it's actually a slightly different format. And one other thing to notice, when I switch here, notice how these change. I don't need to put a slug in for my other website. So as I do that, the slug disappears because I don't need to fill it in. But if I keep this content and I go create, see here where it says blurb again? For the Compile Swift website, this actually needs to say description, because the parser, the GatsbyJS parser that I built, doesn't understand what blurb is. On the compileswift.com website, it's expecting this to say description followed by the description of the post, not blurb. So this is a quick bug here that I'm hoping I'm just going to quickly fix up today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop the application here. Let's just go over to some code. And I want to stress this is very much a living project, or it's not like it's a fully finished application because I'm still building it. So a lot of the code here is very verbose at the moment and not very optimized. So those avid programmers out there, you might be laughing and going, oh my gosh, this code is terrible. Well, yeah, some of it is, because I'm trying to get it working first and then I'll optimize it later. Like this one here, for example, is just some bad repetition, right? We shouldn't be doing that. So those need fixing up. But if I come down here, what this one here is, this prepare for segue that I've got here, is the one that says, okay, you know, it's going to load up the preview window for the content to save the file or to put it on the clipboard. Well, right now, as you can see, you know, here's one for the default, the one for the default actually, and the one for the this one here, case 1, which is the ID for the peterwhitham.com, is correct. So really all I should have to be able to do is just change this one here to description and it should work. But it's actually not going to do that, because what's actually happening here is, as you can see, it's now saying, well, hang on a minute, it should be blurb, right? So it's not a simple case of me just changing it here, and that's what I got to work through. It's kind of an oversight when I built these two sites at 2 different times, and that's kind of the problem. So that's what's given me the bit of a headache here. So I need to go ahead and fix this. So what I think I'm going to do is, you know, as I go down, if I show you, let me go back to the storyboard here. And if you look down on this preview view controller, all this is a text field, and it just puts in the formatted text, right? Now, the problem there is if I go to the preview view controller, you're going to see, here's the template that it fills out, right? So it sets up the string to go into that text field with the values that get, the arguments that get passed over to it. And the problem here is, right here, it says blurb, it's hard-coded. So it's actually hard-coded for that site. So what I got to decide to do is, you know, do I make another copy of this for the Compile Swift website, or do I somehow just change this one? And, you know, I'm doing this live, so I haven't really thought about it too much, because I want to sort of share the embarrassment of figuring this all out with you live, just to show that, hey, even though I'm a professional coder by the day, you know, we all have to sit and work through these issues and try a few different things, and some of them are pretty terrible at first. So, you know, that's what I'm working through here, and I got to figure this out now. And as I'm looking at it, it would be simple enough for me to just pass across the site ID and say, oh, okay, it's site 1 or 0, whatever. You know, just to remind you, this site ID is this one here that I'm talking about, right? And that site ID comes from the configuration file. But do I, you know, what I'm thinking is I just pass across this site ID here, and if it knows that it's going to be, you know, a case of site ID 0, and I just put that in as an argument, the quick and dirty, and, well, maybe not dirty, but the quick and easy way is to then have it here and say, hey, if it's 0, this needs to either say description instead of blurb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explore that option first, right? Sometimes, you know, when you're writing applications and you're writing code, we can plan it out and architect it in our heads as much as we want to, but sometimes you have to stop and say, you know what, I really just need to try this out, to try this idea out and see what happens. And it might work, and then I might need to look at it and go, well, can I live with that for now and refactor it later? Or, you know, should I do it now and just get it right the first time? And I think what I'm going to go with here, because I'm already planning the next big step in this application, because I want it all to be configuration driven in the end, is I think I'm going to go with the quick and dirty route here for my needs, because it's just me using this application. But then I'm going to plan that out better when I look to convert this for other people to use. And let me just show you the data that powers this application, and I think it'll start to make sense. So, you know, I have 2 files here, right? I got some JSON files. Let me find them here. I know they're here somewhere. Hold on. I think they're under resources. Yeah. So what I'd like to be able to do eventually is have it so that anyone can go in here, and these JSON files are reread many times as the application's running. So let me just show you, right? I could add a 3rd site here. Let's actually do this. So I'm going to call this one site 3, and I'll give it a site key of ABC. All right. I'm just going to save that. I'm going to go back now and run the application. Hopefully it's not going to bomb. So I've sort of got half of this working via configuration already. So you can see already, look, there's the site 3. The program's going to die when I pick it here, and I'll explain why. Right, when I do that, it's going to see, you can see here down in the window, it's actually bombing, as opposed to when I pick one of these other ones. And the reason being is this template list file actually contains all the templates for the different sites. So for example, you can see there's the peterwitham.com templates, and then there's the template for the compile Swift. So actually what I need to do to stop it from bombing is essentially it's saying it's misconfigured, right? I don't have in this template list.json, I don't have a site key of ABC. But now that I do, if I run it again, actually, I think did it still bomb on me? Yeah, I think it, yeah, sorry. See, this is where I've half implemented. Not only did I get a typo there, but this is where I've only half implemented some configuration and not all of it. If I go to site 3, it'll pick up the default, right? Go back to compile Swift. See, that one's going to break now. And the reason being, this is why I say it's partly working and I haven't finished building it out yet. Let me just take all this out and I'll explain. So the reason being is because some of this I've had to start, you know, for convenience and speed, because I need to use this application now, right? I'm actually, for the past couple of months, I've been using this application in various forms to write the posts on my website. And so that's where, you know, it's like I need to get this up and running quickly to save myself the pain of writing these files out every time. So because of that, things like this here, the case statement, right? It's not gonna work for me now because, you know, it doesn't know about this other site. That's why all of this eventually needs to be stripped out and be configurable as well. So eventually I want everything to be powered by probably either these two or one more file that says, hey, here's everything you need to know about. Here's the list of sites. Here are the list of templates to choose from this site. And here is the information you need to display on the storyboard, on the view of the application, right? Meaning all of these fields here, these need to be configurable as well for each of the sites. And then I think it's something that other people can start to easily use without having to, you know, work with the code or work with the configuration files in such a deep way. And I'll be honest, that was not part of the goal of this application originally. This was something that just came along and I thought, you know what, it's so useful to me, it'll probably be useful to other people who use Markdown files for their websites. So it really wasn't part of the design, part of the original architecture. And that's why I've been working some of this as we go along. So to get back to the problem that I think we're going to solve here right now, you know, let's go back to this preview view controller. I think what I need to do is just do it so that it can pick up which site ID it is and change this out. So we're going to think about that here for a second, right? We got this meta item, and if I go over here and find it here somewhere, I know it's here. There it is. This is basically the, you know, the struct for the data for creating an object, a meta item object with all the data that it needs. So you'll see that it's got this blurb here, right? But notice what it doesn't have. It doesn't know anything about the site. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to try adding it in here and see how this works for us. So got the template key there. I think we'll just put up here site key, and it's going to be an int. And then I need to update the init. And I'm just going to default it to 0. And then I need to add another one in here, site key, type string. Oh, nope, my bad. Int. And feel free, you know, to ask in the chat if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to explain them. And then self.siteKey equals the incoming site key argument. So that's the meta item updated. Let's go back to our view controller. These will now be wrong because they need to have the site key. So there it is, site key. And this one is going to be a site key of 0. And I know that because it's got the case number here, or at least I'm hoping that's the way it's going to work out. And then for the default, I'm going to make it 0 as well. All right, so this one here actually now needs to be 1. Okay, so it's not being used right now, but let's make sure the application still works. So I'm just going to choose, actually let's go with this because I know it's going to be 1. Let's put some stuff in here. Go create. Everything's there as we expected. No errors. Fantastic. Okay. So now let's go over to our preview view controller. All right, so now I got to think about how I'm going to do this. You know, I could do a logic statement in here that says, hey, if the site key is 0, you know, make this string, and if it's 1, do something else. And I think just to prove my theory, I'm going to start with that. This is horrible. This is horrible code, I know, and there's a far more efficient way to do this. But for now, I just need to prove my theory of how this is going to work, and then I'll make this better code. I promise. So we need that to say description. What did I get wrong here? Whoops. I think I'm having a stupid moment. Oh, I know what I did. I think I meant to put that. All right. Does help to check the right object, of course. Who knew? Okay, so let's start with 0. I'll just put this in. So this one should say blurb. See, the other thing is when I change the setting here, that needs to say description instead of blurb. I'll get to that in a second. But let's just make sure this works. Swift, create. Oh, I see, look. It says description and it shouldn't because I'm on this one. So I'm wondering if I do that, blurb. So I've actually got something backwards here. Let's have a look. Maybe I got my site IDs set up wrong. Blurb, description. See, you even get to see all the bits that I get wrong in an embarrassing way. Can't say it's edited. Okay, peterwilliam.com. Let's do a Swift post. The slug. How about the slug instead? Couple of tags. Create. Perfect. Okay, so that one says blurb. All right. Let's switch over to the other side. This is my new post. This is the description. This is also going to be Swift. and programming. This is my super cool viral post. Please make it viral. Create description. Awesome. Exactly what we want, right? And let me show you while I'm here, in case you're curious about what these two are. These are two image buttons that I've created. If you are curious, these icons here come from the SF Symbols application. And let me just show you here something, because I noticed the other day that the SF Symbol application from Apple doesn't really work for exporting for macOS applications. So if you go to compileswift.com, you're going to find that I've put up a post video here using SF symbols in macOS applications, and it's going to show you how you can export from the SF symbols application to, you know, a file that you can then use in a macOS application, not just an iOS application. So make sure you check that out at compileswift.com. It actually is super cool. And then what they do is when I click this icon, it puts in the correct markdown for me to add an image file. And if I do this one, it puts in the correct metadata here, sorry, the markdown data for putting in Swift code. So that's what those are. So hit create, does all of this, and then I can hit the save file or copy to a clipboard. Perfect. So we still got to fix this here, right? This needs to say description instead of blurb. So let's just do this. Let's go back over to the main storyboard. And what I did to get this working, I actually used some tab views. So what you're going to see if I close this up, this is the one, right, for the peterwitham.com. You know, again, I'd like to strip all of this out and have it to configuration driven, so there won't even need to be multiple views here eventually. But this one, instead of saying blurb, what this needs to say is description. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, so we've got description for compileswift.com, and we've got blurb for peterwitham.com. Awesome. This is one bug fixed. So let's go ahead, let's stop that. We are going to check all this code in. Actually, you know what? Before I do that, let's do this. I need to get in the habit of doing this. If I run my UI tests, I'm pretty sure one of these is probably going to fail. Actually, no, it won't. I thought this create new post was going to fail, but I don't think it is. Let's run it and find out. This is an automated UI test going through here for me, just to make sure I got everything right still. Perfect. It passed. Okay. So there you go. I was a good boy. I did my test, ran my test before I put it in. So we updated the preview to show the correct data for description and blurb based on site. Also updated the display label on entry screen. Perfect. Push it to my remote repository. Do all that for me, please. All right, let's go to simplify this screen a little here. I think I'm actually going to have to see all the repositories. There it is. Go over to my issues. And it should be this one here. The CS site profile, blurb, yep. Now fixed in the latest build. Close it, comment. Look at that. Even closed my own ticket. I am on a roll. Should be one issue now. Yep, okay. Beautiful. Okay. Look at this. Nice healthy amount of commits. All right. That is that bug fixed. I need to archive this so that I can use this as the latest version on my machine.